Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna and welcome to all of you for Gita Mastery Course Trimester 3, Session 3, where we will be discussing more about Chapter 7 and a little bit about Chapter 8. So before we begin, let us all chant the Mangalacharan prayers together.
Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vashyatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamam Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram.
Hare Krishna. So as always, we will begin our session with a quiz coming up on your screens, which we call it Gita Rewind. So this helps us in rewinding our learnings and reinforcing our learnings. So here it goes on your screen. Read the questions carefully and mark the correct answers. Those of you who are at YouTube or Facebook, so this is the screen of the questions which we have shared. So probably you can also write it down in your notebook, and when we discuss the correct answers, then you can just check and verify. Hare Krishna.
And once you have done the quiz, you will have the attendance link in the chat. So kindly mark your attendance. Krishna, so we have received around 37-38% of the responses. So try to complete in next 1 minute. And after that, kindly mark your attendance. You have to mark your attendance only once during the whole session. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So here is the result of what you have chosen to be the correct answer. Let's quickly discuss which one is the correct answer. So coming to question number 1, why people do not accept or realize Krishna? And the correct answer is because they are bewildered by the 3 modes.
Question 2, what guarantees freedom from material entanglement? The correct answer is Krishna or surrender unto the Lord. Surrender unto Krishna. That's the right answer. Most of you got it right.
Okay, so there is some difference in the slide and in the question there.
Yes.
Okay. Question number 3. Krishna says that the demigod worshippers are less intelligent. And the correct answer is yes.
Question 4, who doesn't surrender to Krishna? And the correct answer is all of the above.
Question number 5, what is the result of worshipping Krishna with some desire for wealth? And the correct answer is attainment of their desire. So option number 1. So whichever desire a person has, wealth or distress or any other thing, Krishna fulfills that desire. So attainment of their desire.
Question 6, how does the Sukritinas advance in devotional service? So their advancement in devotional service is dependent on them coming in touch with pure devotees. So second option is the right option.
Question number 7, who is the best among those who surrender to Krishna? And the correct answer is the 4th one, seeker of knowledge or Jnani.
And if you did not know the answer to the question 7, all you have to do is look at question number 8, because from that you will understand who is the best of the 4. Why is Jnani the best? Because yes, he is free from material desires, he is engaged in pure devotional service, and therefore both is the right answer.
Question number 9, what is very rare to attain? And the correct answer is devotional service.
I need to explain.
So many of you have marked it as liberation, but liberation is insignificant when it is compared to devotional service. Because liberation, we would be discussing in today's session about who aspire for liberation, and probably we would cover it when we are discussing
In
impersonalist.
the context of the, I think, 4th verse, no?
Yeah. So in the 4th verse of the 7th chapter, we have already read Manushya Nam Sahasreshya, that after thousands and thousands of years, a person struggles, and then one comes to the platform of showing some interest or inclination in devotional service. And out of those thousands of such seekers, only when one person perfects that. And the process of perfection, Krishna has been repeatedly telling, and in today's session, he would be telling even again that the process is devotional service. So we were discussing, I think, in the first session of chapter 7, where we were discussing that the last chapter of last section of chapter 6, where we discuss different paths, and we also discussed that how different paths we approach for our own benefit, and only when a person is doing devotional service, then that is with Krishna in the center, that is for the pleasure of the Lord. Otherwise, liberation also I am aspiring, because I am so frustrated with the material problems which I face. So I want to end my suffering. So again, I am in the center, even if I am aspiring for liberation.
And it is also very common knowledge when you meet people. So most people are not interested in liberation. There are some who are interested in liberation, but that's it. What do you want? I want moksha. I want mukti. But how many of them say, I want service of the Lord? I want to render service to the Lord. So very, very rare, very, very few people are there. And that's what Krishna was explaining, that among thousands of people, one may attain perfection. And among thousands of those who attain perfection, one may actually know me in truth. So that is why it is exceptionally rare. Devotional service is exceptionally rare. Question number 10. The faith of a demigod worshippers is in actuality built by Krishna. And the answer is true, because that's what he says. We saw that in the previous session.
So, proceeding further, let's see what we are going to learn today in today's section. So, the first thing what we would be learning is impersonalists. So, who are these impersonalists? We have already discussed, but we would be defining today with more clarity. So, who are impersonalists, their philosophy, and what is the destination they achieve? Then second, we would be discussing about how Krishna has a transcendental form. So Krishna is not formless. Krishna does have a form, but that form is not like our form, where we are made of the gross and the subtle elements, but Krishna's form is transcendental or spiritual.
And why we are not able to see that transcendental form of the Lord? Why we don't see his wonderful spiritual qualities or his spiritual activities? Because we are in illusion. So that's the third point that we learned today, that because of the desire and hatred, because of these two dualities, these two opposites being in us, it causes an illusion of that reality. And then we have the fourth point. If you are illusioned, so is there no way to know the Lord? So there are ways. So what is that way? And that will also be discussed in today's session. What is the way to overcome that illusion? And finally, we have the fifth point, the absolute knowledge that a devotee possesses. The absolute knowledge, which means this knowledge is true under all time, place, and circumstances. It is like a fixed truth. So fixed truth or knowledge, what does a devotee possess? So we'll look at these five learning points today.
So here it is, the whole chapter in front of you. We have already covered knowledge through hearing in the first 3 verses, where Krishna tells Arjuna that now hear carefully. And that is how the whole chapter began. The second part was when Krishna started speaking about his energies or vibhutis. He described himself as how he is maintaining and sustaining the entire universe, and how he is the essential principle in everything around us. Then section number 3, accept or reject Krishna. So here in the last class we discussed as who are those people who accept Krishna. 4 categories were given, and 4 categories of those people who do not accept Krishna, or who reject Krishna, or they do not surrender into Krishna. Last session we also discussed partially about the demigod. We discussed till verse number 23. So we would be proceeding from verse number 24 onwards. So we have already discussed that how men of small intelligence, Krishna says those who are less intelligent, they worship demigods. And why so? Because demigod gives a result which are limited and temporary. And he also tells that those who worship demigods or Devatas like Chandra, Surya, so they go to the planet of the demigods, and those who worship Krishna, they go to Krishna. So now we will begin our session with verse number 24. So there is a subsection here, verse number 24 and 25 talks about impersonalists. So before we get into verse 24, let's try and understand their philosophy and perspective.
So impersonalist, this is something which I'm sure most of us would have heard at some point or the other in our lives, where people say God has no form. And we know that there are major religions in this world, and they profess that God has no form. Right? Their religion, it's a very pronounced religion, but they have no conception of form of God. And even within Hinduism, there are people who don't believe in form of God, right? So some of them may accept Brahman Jyoti as supreme, right? What is the goal of our life? To merge in Brahman Jyoti, Mukti, So that is what, so that person who does not accept the form of the Lord, but who accepts anything else as the Lord, so that person is called impersonalist, a Brahma Jyoti. So he accepts that the effulgence coming from the divine form of the Lord is the supreme, or he understands that when Krishna appears in Mathura, comes to Vrindavan, Braj, and then goes back to Mathura, then later goes back to Dwarka. So all those pastimes, he understands that that form of the Lord was material. That Krishna was having a material form like you and me. He was having a body made of Panch Mahabhut. So sometimes some impersonalists think that way as well, that Krishna takes a temporary material form and perform pastimes. That Krishna is an ordinary human being who took birth from Vasudeva and Devaki, or Lord Ram who appeared in Ayodhya to Mother Kaushalya and King Dashrath. So he also is an ordinary human being, right? So the moment we consider Lord Ram as an ordinary human being, we join the party of Ravan, because that is what he would believe in. So impersonalists usually think that Krishna is an ordinary human being. He's just, or probably just, a powerful living entity, but he has a temporary material form. So they do. So impersonalist, if you look at this word, it is very simply means the impersonal, which means Lord has no persona. He has no personality, no form, no qualities, no activities. So this is what the impersonalist accept. And let's see what what is Krishna's opinion about the impersonalist. Tam vyaktimapannam manyante mamabuddhayaha param bhavamajananto mamavyayam anuttamam.
Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small intelligence, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. So now Krishna is talking here about unintelligent person, a buddhaya. So these are not less intelligent, these are unintelligent. They do not have intelligence. So Krishna is telling that such people alone can think that I did not had a form. I come here in this material world, I get a personality, and after that again I lose my form. So there is like, I am not all pervasive, I am not all powerful, and that is how I do not have any personality. So this all indicates that these people have imperfect knowledge. Their knowledge is not proper. So though they have some knowledge, but they do not have proper knowledge, and that is why they do not understand the higher nature of Lord's form, qualities, activities, and how everything is spiritual. So those of us who have memorized or who remember from chapter 4th, there was this verse, I think verse number 9, if I'm not wrong. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So we have discussed that verse, and there Krishna says that a person who knows the real secret or the real knowledge of Janma and Karma, of my birth and my activities. So such a person attains me at the end of this life. But these people, they do not know the truth. So they think, the impersonalists, they do not know the truth. So they think that Krishna came into existence and then Krishna was not there before. So Krishna did not had a form and Krishna gets a form. So that is a major problem here. And that is why Krishna calls them unintelligent. Krishna does not tell them less intelligent or little intelligent. He says unintelligent, because they have imperfect knowledge of Krishna. They think that they have a lot of knowledge, but it is all imperfect. And that is why they are unaware of Krishna's nature. So, such a person, of course, they cannot attain perfection, because to attain perfection, to go back home, back to Godhead, one has to understand that how Krishna's Janma and Karma are transcendental. Janma Karma Chame Divyam. So one has to understand that Divyam. And another thing, when these people, they do not understand, so what happens is, like you would have heard very often, that people saying, I don't like how Rama treated Sita. How could he banish him? How could he get carried away by the words of a washerman and he left his chaste wife who had given Agni Pariksha? So what is happening is, we are questioning the conduct of the Supreme Lord. So because we do not have perfect knowledge. Or some people may say, how can Krishna have Ras Leela with so many gopis? So again, imperfect knowledge. And so because of this imperfect knowledge, we are not aware of Krishna's nature, and then we do not attain perfection. So all these things are available only when practices devotional service.
Sugiti, I was thinking it is like, when people watch cricket match, they will sit on the couch like this and they will say, hey, this bowler is not doing properly. Hey, that batsman is not batting properly.
And then
Hey,
the captain itself.
the captain is not doing. Why he sent this person advance? What are they doing?
Why he's
They
coming
should
in
be
third,
doing like this.
3 wicket down, he
Yeah.
should have sent a 2 wicket
So,
down. So all those
yeah.
questions.
So like a couch cricketer, like that, we pass judgment. So the way we pass judgments on everything else in the world, similarly we pass judgment on the Lord also. Not understanding that we are imperfect, our understanding is imperfect, our senses are imperfect, and whereas Lord is all perfect. So he is perfect, his activities are perfect, right? So without understanding all that, it's very just easy to pass judgments.
So how one can understand Krishna? So we are talking about understanding Janma and Karma. How do we understand? Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Only by devotional service, beginning with chanting.
This is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us.
Naham
Prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha Mudo yamna vijanati loko mamajamavyayam. So Krishna is saying here, Naham Prakashaha Sarvasya. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows me. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency. And therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So if you remember, one of the learning points we were saying that how we will know about Krishna's form. So here Krishna is explaining about himself that he is unborn. We call him, what do we call him? Yashoda Nandan, Nanda Nandan. We say Raghu Nandan. Lord Ram is Raghu Nandan. So Devaki Nandan, son of Devaki, about Krishna and about Lord Ram, we say like that. But Krishna is saying, I am unborn. So he is the Supreme Lord. Wherever he wants, he can appear. To whomever parents he chooses, he appears to be born from them. Or like for example, we say Lord Chaitanya is Sachinandan, born from Mother Sachi. So, but we need to understand, Lord is saying, I am unborn, I am infallible. The word infallible means that there are no flaws in the Lord. He never comes under the influence of the three modes of nature, that he is perfect. We personally have no experience of anyone being perfect. Nobody in our experience is perfect in any relationship, right? But Lord is infallible. He is completely perfect, right? So that is what God is. Actually, that's the definition of God. So if you look at these words, Krishna is defining himself. And he's saying that these foolish people, these unintelligent people, they do not know me because for them, I'm covered by a curtain of Yog Maya, by my internal potency. So there are two types of Maya. Yog Maya, that is Lord's internal potency, and other one is Mahamaya, or the material energy, which covers all the living entities. So there Krishna is saying that I'm covered as if I'm covered by my internal potency. So this is, we can Summarize the points here that these are the results for the impersonalist, that Supreme Lord or the absolute truth, right? Because everything else in the material world is a relative truth. Relative truth, which means that truth will change. It changes according to time, place, and circumstance. It may change according to the person. It may change. So it is changeable, but absolute truth which never changes. So Krishna is saying that that Supreme Lord is hidden from the foolish and the unintelligent, and they get covered. So Lord is actually covered from their view by the Yog Maya potency, and we can very clearly see when we read Mahabharata, or when we read more so in Mahabharata, actually, there were so many atheist people, they never accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Right? They could see him, they fought with him, they heard so much about him, but they never accepted Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Right? So they are all covered by the Lord is covered from them by the internal potency of the Lord.
So, what does it mean? We are saying Lord is covered by internal potency. So, as Prabhu is explaining, that they do not understand or they do not recognize that He is the Supreme Lord. So, actually, when we are talking about impersonalists, so one very important point is that they think that Brahman Jyoti is all in all. Now, what is Brahman Jyoti? Brahman Jyoti is that aura or the Divya light, the transcendental light which emanates, that blinding light which comes from the body of the Supreme Lord. So when they see this light, they don't understand that there is a person also behind this light, from whom this light is coming, who's the source of this light. So they start believing that this light is all in all. This light is the absolute truth. This light is supreme. So they feel that that light is supreme, so they do not get an opportunity to have any relationship with the Supreme Lord. So when we were discussing that question today in today's quiz, as how liberation, compared to liberation, devotional service is rarer because it is easy to achieve Krishna as a light. So impersonalist, what happens to them is that they achieve that light form. So which means that when they reach there is no activity. There is no sadness. There is no Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik, Adhyatmic problems. There are no miseries. Absolutely no miseries. Everything comes to standstill. It is completely peaceful. But if we ask you, what is more important, peaceful or blissful? So here they get stopped at being peaceful. But then when the devotees of the Lord, when they have relationship, when some of them get into the position of Lord's friends, and some of them climb on Krishna's shoulder and they fight with Krishna, they have wrestling matches with Krishna, or somebody acquires the position of Krishna's parental relationship. So they take care of Krishna, they feed Krishna, they churn butter and pray that, okay, Krishna should come and eat that. And some of them acquire that lover's relationship, becomes the queen of Krishna. Right? So all these relationship actually provides bliss. So liberation is easily given because, okay, Krishna does not mind you are coming and stagnating in my Brahma Jyoti, okay, fine. But bhakti or devotional service, Krishna gets into control of that bhakta. So that is why devotional service is very, very rare when a person has an active relationship with Krishna. So these are impersonalists. They think that that Brahma Jyoti is supreme, and that is why they are, or rather the absolute truth is hidden from them. So if we read Ishopanishad, there is a verse also which comes there, Hiranya Mena Patrena. So there the devotee is praying that please remove that covering and show me your face, because I am not able to see your face because of this effulgent light. So if a person is a devotee, he understands that behind this light is my Supreme Lord who has a transcendental form. So that is the difference between the two of them. So Krishna reveals himself only to the pure devotees. He covers up himself from others. So getting into the next section.
So next section is who can become a devotee. These are the 5 verses from 26 to 30 till the end of the 7th chapter, the chapter known as knowledge of the absolute. So here Krishna is giving so much detailed information about himself, and this also gives us a cue about the Open book assignments, right? So open book assignments, we have begun to correct them. Some of you might have received answers to them. And some of you have given really excellent answers. We're very happy. Those of you who have not attempted open book assignment, this is the time. You can look at those questions marked. They're not very difficult. They're quite easy, in fact. So we look at the 26th verse. Krishna continues to explain about him and then how by knowing all that knowledge, we can become a very wonderful devotee. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. So here Krishna is saying Vedaham, I know. Vedaham, I know samatitani, past, I know the present, vartamanani, and I know the future. So, O Arjun, as a supreme personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. So please mark these verses. These are all very important verses. From this, we really get a very clear understanding of what is God. What does it mean to be God? Right? So here Krishna is explaining that he is fully cognizant of past, present, and future. Right? If you look at us, do we remember what was our past life? What form we had past life? Were we in a male or a female body? Were we having a human or an animal body? So do we have any such even faintest of idea? No, we have completely forgotten. Our entire life, previous life, we have completely forgotten. But Krishna is saying, I am fully cognizant. So we see that how just we are so opposite from the Lord. We are so insignificant. So Lord is not only aware of the past, the present, but Krishna is saying he is aware of the future also. And that is God. Right? So, and Krishna is saying, I know all beings. I know all beings. So which means he knows you very, very well. Better than what your spouse knows or what your parents know about you or what even your children know about you.
Or what even you know about you.
Or whatever you know about you. So Krishna knows you that well. Right? So it's so amazing. And he knows that living entity in the plant body, in the tree body, in the dog body, in the cat body also, Krishna knows that individual. Right? So Krishna knows all the beings. And only ones who truly knows Krishna is very rare. Right? So one who has this understanding of Krishna, this knowledge about God, that person is also very, very rare. So Krishna, one amazing thing that we can get from this is Krishna's form is not material. See, we forgot everything from our past life because we had to leave that body. Then we got another body, this body that we are currently having. And then due course of time, we will leave this body also. And if we are not serious about spiritual life, we'll get another body. Then we'll forget about this life as well. So that's what we understand. So because we have a material body, we keep changing bodies after body after body. And therefore, we don't remember our previous lifetime. But Krishna remembers everything. And therefore, from that, we can conclude that Krishna is not material. His body is spiritual and he's not covered by Maya. And we have a very nice analogy here.
It says that Krishna is like sun and Maya is like cloud. So when we are talking about Maya, as Prabhu already mentioned, that there are two categories of Maya, Yog Maya and Mahamaya. So Yog Maya is Krishna's internal potency and Mahamaya is the illusory energy which we see around us. So here when we are talking about Maya, we are referring to illusory energy. So Krishna is like sun and Maya is like cloud. So Maya is the illusion which covers us, which gives us this feeling that I am this body. That is Maya. Though the clouds can cover our vision, they cannot cover sun. So though we get into this Maya and we start thinking that I am the body and we start behaving under the modes of material nature, Krishna is beyond Maya. In fact, Krishna is the source of Maya also. So Maya cannot cover Krishna. Krishna is beyond Maya.
Yeah, and we covered by sun. Our sun is covered from a vision by the cloud, and we say there's no sun. Right? If somebody makes that statement, we can understand how stupid is that. Right? So people say there's no God. Right? So can Krishna know past, present, and future if his form was material? So think of that question. We have discussed it, we have come to a conclusion, but this question has to really get deep into you. Krishna is saying that. So Krishna has a form, Krishna has a transcendental spiritual form. Because if form was like yours and mine, he cannot make such a statement.
And we are all under this illusion. So from where this illusion arises, Krishna is answering in the next verse.
Ichha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa.
Krishna is saying ichha or desire, dvesh or hatred. So ichha means I desire certain things. I want this, I want this, I want this, I like this, I love this. So that is ichha. Dvesh is I don't want this, I don't like it, I hate it. So that is dvesh. So Krishna says here that, O sign of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. So this is the two reasons, desire and hate. These are the two reasons why we get into illusion. Now, on what basis do we hate something or someone? And on what basis do we like something or like someone? So all that, if we will examine carefully, if we will contemplate a little, we will come to a conclusion that all that is happening till the time I think I am the body. So from the bodily perspective, I may like someone and I may dislike someone. I may like my mother and I may dislike my mother-in-law. Why? Because I'm connected to both of them on the basis of the body. Or I may feel insulted somewhere and I may feel very happy. What is happening again? People are either, in both the cases, people are connecting to me as a body. Until the time I connect to myself as a body, then I experience this honor or dishonor, good or bad, pleasure or pain, happiness or distress, hate or desire. So all that is sprouting from this duality, and this duality comes from the belief that I am the body. Yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mama dridvritaha.
So here Krishna is talking about those who actually, like we remember, I hope all of us remember the 4 types of people who surrender to Krishna. We discussed in the previous session. And the discussion was that there was one person called Arthi who wanted some material, who was distressed and he wanted relief from that distress. And then we had Jigyasu who was very inquisitive. And then we had a person who was Artharthi who wanted wealth, right? So we look at these 3 people. If you remember, we were seeing that how they worship Krishna, they are bhajante Krishna, they are worshipping the Lord, but they're doing because of these material desires. Krishna accepts them, but it is because of the material desire. So now the question is that how people can actually engage themselves in devotional service with dridvrata. Here we say Krishna is using the same word, bhajante mam dridvrata. When do people become really fixed up in worship of Krishna? So here Krishna is saying people who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life. So this is the first one Krishna is talking about, that they have acted piously in previous and this life. Second, whose sinful reactions are completely gone. They're eradicated and are free from the dualities of delusion, which Sukirti was discussing in the previous verse. Krishna was discussing in the previous verse that he is free from Ichha and Dvesh, and they engage themselves in service with determination. So how can a person really graduate? He can move up in his spiritual life. So Krishna is giving a very clear path. So one is pious in this life and in previous and this life. So if you remember, we discussed that there is material pious activities, right? So material pious activities, there is no spiritual result, but the result is that we get material happiness. But here when we talk about pious life, being pious in spiritual life and this life, it refers to spiritual piety. It refers that when we come in touch with devotees, we understand the glories of the Supreme Lord. We become attracted to Him and we understand that I must surrender to this person, to this Supreme Personality. And that's the time when I begin to do spiritual piety. So if I have done spiritual piety in the previous life, if I have done spiritual piety in this life by coming in touch with pure devotees, then I begin to perform devotional service. My sinful reactions are destroyed, because what is the first thing? When actually this was a very simple realization. When anybody comes to our ISKCON temple, at least one thing they come to know, that you should chant Hare Krishna. Because whomever they meet, they say Hare Krishna. When they pick up the phone, Hare Krishna. When they're saying bye-bye, they will say Hare Krishna. So whatever happens, and in the temple also, Kirtan is going on Hare Krishna. In our temple, we had a japa walk. So anybody who comes, we inspire them to chant 108 times, right? So, and second, they come to know that Krishna is Supreme Lord. You know, He's there, and we're doing nice Kirtan. There is nice Bhagavad class, Bhagavad Gita class. So they come to know about this. So the moment they hear Krishna's name, they chant Krishna's name, all their sinful reactions are gone, right? And gradually they understand that they are not this body. So their delusion goes away. Gradually they come over their desire and hate, their like and dislikes, because their goal of life is now known to them, that I must serve the Lord, right? So no longer there is this... no longer we work in this direction that I want this for my body, I don't want this for my body. My focus becomes that whatever I should do, whatever I have, I should engage in Krishna's service. So gradually they become free from the illusion, and then they become very, very determined. Gradually they understand that if I want perfection in my life, all I have to do is surrender to Krishna and serve Krishna. Everything else will come to me. I will perfect my life. And they become very, very fixed up, drid vrita, in their devotional life.
And all this is possible only with the association of pure devotee. So the whole process which Prabhu was explaining is possible only when we come in association of a pure devotee, someone as pure as Srila Prabhupada, and he has the capacity to deliver us. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad vidu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. So we can all probably go back and check how many times Krishna is talking about devotional service in this chapter. They are actually Brahma because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So now Krishna is talking here about yet another type of devotee who's intelligent. So in the previous section, we discussed 4 categories: Artha, Artharthi, Jigyasu, and Jnani, who approach Krishna for different things. Here Krishna is talking about that category of people who have had enough of this material world, and now what they are looking from, Jara Marana Mokshaya, they are looking for moksha or liberation. From what? From Jara and Marn, from old age and death. They have had enough times, they have grown old and they have died, and they are looking for liberation. So what do such people do? They also perform devotional service. And Krishna is using 2 words here. One word is Brahma and the other word is Adhyatma. So he is talking about Brahma and Adhyatma, which he would be elaborating more in the upcoming verses of the 8th chapter. So just keep those words in mind and we will discuss more Brahma and Adhyatma, and let's see what this verse has to tell us. So there are yet another type of devotee. These devotees are very intelligent. Because they are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death, and Krishna says that they also get spiritual body. So this Brahma here is referring to a person who actually knows the soul and cycle of karma. So he knows the Jivan, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. He knows whatever I do, it comes back to me. And he knows that how he is actually in these 3 modes of material nature. He's gripped here and he's coming here repeatedly. And he starts desiring that I want to go back home, back to Godhead. So that is the category which he is talking here. Sadhi bhutadhi daivam mam
Sadhyagyam cha ye viduhu prayana kale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. So here Krishna is saying that what is the process of knowing me at the time of death? Krishna is saying that one who's fully consciousness of me and who knows, he has this knowledge, he has this realization that Krishna is the main governing principle of the material manifestation of the Devatas and of the methods of sacrifice. So here Krishna is using the word Adi Bhutam, Adi Daivam, Adi Yagyam. So these are the three things Krishna is saying. One who knows that actually I am the source of material nature, that I am the source of Devatas, and then I am the enjoyer of the Yagyas. I am the one who actually gives the results of the Yagya, of the whatever sacrifice which anyone does. Right? So one Krishna is saying, one who knows these reality about me, then at the time of death, he knows me. At the time of death, he understands, knows me even at the time of death. So even because time of death is a very difficult time, mind is not properly situated, the body is abnormally behaving, nothing is under our control, everything is very, very painful and troublesome. At that time, how can we remember God? So Krishna is giving a process, Krishna is giving that what we need to know. So this is our preparation actually. So that's how we see Bhagavad Gita is actually our prep time for our final exam. So those who know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he is the governing principle of the entire material nature. So we have these, both the escalators are going to the Golok Vrindavan. All we have to is just board it. We should know the boarding station and we should stay on the escalator. Then we will reach there. So Krishna is the governing principle of the Devatas and all the methods of sacrifice. So simply by hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord, all the objectives will be fulfilled. This is called Dridha Vrata, determined faith. This is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. So we understand that all our objectives, the purpose of my life will become perfect. All what I want in my life will become perfect when I practice Krishna consciousness. When I have that determined faith, then I can move very, very quickly in spiritual life. That is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, and that begins by the process of hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we have successfully completed chapter number 7 and now we are entering into chapter 8. We request you immediately after the session, you can go to the website and complete the quiz for chapter 7. It has already been uploaded. So let's see now chapter 8. Total it has 28 verses and this chapter is known as Attaining the Supreme. So previous one was knowledge about the absolute truth, and now how do I attain him? How do I reach him? So that is the subject under discussion here. We see that it is divided into 4 sections. The first section is Arjuna's question. So Arjun basically asked 8 questions and then Krishna replies these 8 questions in the balance of the chapter. So let us begin with the first section, the first verse which Arjuna asked.
Arjuna Vacha Kim Tad Brahma Kim Adhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama Adi Bhutam Cha Kim Proktam Adi Devam Kim Uchyate.
Arjun Uvacha, Arjun inquired, Kim Tad Brahma, what is this Brahma? Kim Adhyatmam, what is the self? Kim Karma, what are the fruitive activities, O Purushottam? Adi Bhutam Cha Kim Proktam, what is Adi Bhutam or what is this material manifestation? Cha Kim Proktam Adi Devam, what is Adi Devam or what are these demigods? Please explain this to me. So Arjun is asking 5 questions here in this verse number 1. Let's see verse number 2.
Adi Yagya Katham Kotra Dehesmin Madhusudana
Prayanakale cha katham geyosi niyatatmabhi.
Who is the Lord of sacrifice, Adi Yagya? And how does he live in the body? Kotra dehe asmin. So how does he live in the body, the Lord of sacrifice? O Madhusudan. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So how they can know you? Prayana Kale. So this is, Arjuna wants more clarification. So we see here that in the last two verses of the 7th chapter, Krishna used 6 technical terms. He used Brahman, he used Adhyatma, he used Karma, Adi Bhut, Adi Deva, Adi Yagya. So these are the 6 words Krishna used in the previous chapter. And Arjuna is asking clarification about them. And then he asked 2 additional questions. I will just look at these. So Arjuna was asking about Adhyatma, the Brahman, Adhyatma, Adi Bhut, Adi Dev, Adi Yagya, and Prayana Kale. So these are the 6 topics that Arjuna asked in the previous chapter.
In this chapter, Krishna mentions these 6 topics in the previous chapter, and Arjun is picking up those specific words and raising a question there.
Thank you. So Brahman, Adhyatma, Adi Bhut, Adi Dev, Adi Yagya, and Prayan Kali at the time of death. So these are the 6 things which Krishna talks about in the previous chapter and the 7th chapter. Now Arjuna is asking about those, more clarification on these 6 points, and he adds 2 more. He adds Karma and he adds where does Adi Yagya reside. So these are 2 additional questions apart from those 6 things that Arjuna asks. So Arjuna is asking the clarification, and the beautiful thing is that in next 2 verses, Krishna will answer 7 of those questions, right? And the 8th question he will discuss in detail in the rest of the chapter. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all this is discussed in the next 2 verses, which we'll complete the session with. And the 8th point, how to remember Krishna at the time of death, Krishna will discuss in the balanced chapter. So I hope all of this is clear.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmam Uchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhava Karo Visarga Karma Samgitaha.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible transcendental living entity is called Brahma, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. So 3 of the questions are getting answered here in this verse. So he is answering what is Brahma. So Brahma is indestructible transcendental living entity, which means he is referring to the Jivatma. He is referring to us. He is referring to the soul. So he is telling that Brahma is that. And then he is saying, what is Adhyatma? So Adhyatma Krishna is defining as the eternal nature. So how we keep repeating, Jivera Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, that the eternal nature of the living entity is to serve the Supreme Lord. So that is what Krishna is saying, that Adhyatma refers to his eternal nature. Then the 3rd question was about karma. What are the karma or fruitive activities? So Krishna tells here, actions pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities. So what happens is that we do certain actions, and on the basis of what actions we do, we get the next body, right? And then we do certain actions, and again on the basis of the actions what we are doing, we get another body. So Krishna is telling that actions pertaining to the development of material bodies of living entities called karma or fruitive activity.
So actually sometimes I ask this question, what are we doing right now? What are we doing right now? We are sitting listening to class, okay. What are we doing right now? In our 24 hours, last 1 week, last 1 month, what are we doing? We are actually preparing our next body. So whatever we are doing now, it will, with all those material karmas, will give us our next material body. Adibhutam Ksharo Bhava Purushascha Devatam Adiyagyoham evatra dehe deha vritam vara. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibhut, the material manifestation. So here Krishna is explaining the first verse here, Adibhut, and what is he saying? That it is the physical nature what is constantly changing. So sometimes, we discuss from where does the flower come? Seed comes from the flower, from the fruit. Where does the fruit come from? Fruit comes from the flower. Flower comes from the plant. Where does the plant come from? Comes from the seed. Where everything comes from nature. Where does nature come from? Most people get stuck there. They don't have an answer. Where does nature come from? Nature comes from nature. It is like so. They are confused. So here Krishna will explain that about nature. So he's saying what is constantly changing. So we see that this nature is constantly changing. And we see also that our body is also made up of Prakriti, the elements from Prakriti, and we see that this body also constantly change. So material nature, material world is characterized by constant change. And it of course comes from the Supreme Lord. So this is the first word, Adibhut, where Krishna is saying this constantly changing material nature is called Adibhut, and Krishna is the Lord of that. Second is the universal form of the Lord, which includes all the Devatas, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adidev. So Adidev means the universal form of the Lord. The universal form of the Lord, which we will see a little later on the request of Arjuna, Krishna will show his universal form, Virat Roop. And there Arjuna can actually, from his Divya Chakshu, he can see the different Devatas in that Virat form of the Lord. So how we understand that actually all those Devatas are also subservient to the Lord. And finally, Adi Yagyo. So Krishna is saying, I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every living, every embodied being, am called Adi Yagya. So Krishna answers both these questions. Who's Adi Yagya and where does he reside? So Krishna explains that I am the Adi Yagya and I reside as super soul in the heart of the living entity. So these are the 7 questions which Krishna has answered in the last 2 verses. We will just do a review. 1.
Brahma is the indestructible living entity. So we all are being referred by Krishna as Brahman. Adhyatma is the eternal nature, and the nature as we described is to serve the Supreme Lord. Karma is the activity which generates our next body. Adibhut is the Prakriti or the material world which we see around us, which is constantly changing. So the physical world around us, that is Adibhut. Adidev is the universal form of the Lord. So universal form encompasses all the different demigods also. So when Arjun had the darshan of that universal form of the Lord, he could actually see all various demigods as well included in that universal form. So Krishna says that is Adidev. Adi Yagya is Krishna residing as Paramatma. And where does he reside? So he resides in the heart of all living entities. So this is how Krishna has completed giving the answer and satisfying his student Arjuna for 7 of his queries. And the most important and significant, for which we are actually studying Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of whole Bhagavad Gita is how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So that is the question which you have to read for the next session. So the next session reading is at least till verse number 20. Kindly read from 5 to 20 and we will see how many verses we can cover. But that's a very, very important and interesting section where Krishna is answering that question. There was no memory verse in today's session, so we did not mark it. So with this, we complete today's session, and also there are a couple of announcements. So as I said, that the quiz has been uploaded up there on the Study Gita website. So kindly log in through your registered email ID, go to the Study Gita page and get into GMC chapter 7. You will find the quiz. It is good that you complete the quiz now itself. Otherwise, if you will wait for the entire trimester to get over, and then you may forget what you have done in chapter number 7. So we request you to take the quiz today, and we monitor also. So we keep asking our backend support that how many people have done and which are all those names. So we'll be very happy to see that you complete the quiz. And today evening we have our regular Q&A session, and apart from that there is a bonus session today evening. So I have been invited by ISKCON Chennai to speak there. The topic given is Back to Godhead. So those of us who are interested, so this is an extra bonus service for me. So you all can also join. Most welcome. We will be sharing the details. It will be there at our YouTube channel, so you can join in there. For the Back to Godhead session, the session is at 7 p.m. IST. So thank you all very much. It was wonderful having you. We are here for a few more minutes if someone has to speak something, but officially we are closing the session here.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Srila Prabhupada
Ki jai.